Welcome back, everyone, to After the Scales, presented by DJD Graphics. I'm your host, Jacob Dove of Phenom Motorsports. On today's episode, I'll be recapping this past weekend's dirt racing events with sprint cars and late models. But before we get into that, here's a message from today's sponsor.
From commercial and personal vehicles to racing bikes and cars of all makes, models, and disciplines, DJD Graphics can fully customize your vehicle to suit your needs. For more information, contact Darren and visit his website at www.djdgraphics.com. Tell him Sean and Jacob sent you to receive special rates.
So over the weekend, we would see Kubota High Limit Racing continue their West Coast swing, starting off Friday night at Kevin Harvick's Kern Raceway, where Brad Sweet would pick up an impressive, dominating win. On Saturday night, they would move over to Paris Auto Speedway, where Aaron Reitzel would get the win. That was very shocking to see after that incident that he had at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, where the rock would go through his visor and his helmet, break his nose. He had stitches. His eyes were all bloodshot. Rich & Sons Racing didn't know if he was going to be able to even run after that. They weren't sure if they had to get a fill-in driver, but sure enough, he comes out of the hospital, gets in the car, shows speed all night long, and came up with an impressive win to really solidify that he's going to be really good this year in the high limit point standings. Some other drivers that were really impressive to me over this past weekend was Casey Kane. Ever since he lost his crew chief, I feel like the Casey Kane racing team has really rallied around both Brad Sweet and Casey Kane to make sure that they are competitive every single night. Casey would pick up that second place finish right behind his driver Brad Sweet at Kern. He currently sits 10th in the point standings, where Brad Sweet is currently the points leader. Another driver that was impressive to me was Austin McCarl. We see him do really good at fast-paced racetracks like Eldora and Knoxville, but he was impressive, getting a second place finish at Paris. Another driver that really stood out to me was Tanner Holmes. We knew that Tanner was going to be fast in that Tarleton number 21, but Tanner Holmes has been really impressive in that car, splitting the ride this year with James McFadden. Really hope that Tanner Holmes can pick up a win in that 21 car. That really shows that Tanner has that talent even outside of his own equipment, and I think he'll continue to do well with this West Coast swing. The driver that was really shockingly fast was Caleb Montgomery. I feel like people were really sleeping on this kid. He's been a really solid racer out west, showing some promising finishes and promising speed in his heat races and in the feature. So leaving California, Brad Sweet currently sits atop of the points with Tyler Courtney in second, minus 45 back. Moving on to the World of Outlaws NOS Energy Drink Sprint Car Series, they would head to Texas at Cotton Bowl Speedway both Friday and Saturday night, where we would see David Gravel pick up 2 wins, sweeping the weekend in dominating fashion. Gravel's had a really good start to this year. He's got a big points lead already. A lot of people are saying that, this point series race is pretty much over. Go ahead and give him the championship. And well, I know I'm wearing a David Gravel shirt right now, but I'll have to probably agree with those people. The only driver that can really keep up with him right now is Buddy Kofoid, where he would finish second both nights behind Gravel. He was up there battling for the lead with him. Everybody else is just kind of second on back to Gravel in the Big Game Motorsports number 2 team right now. But another driver that was really impressive was Sam Hafertepe Jr. in his home state of Texas. He would find himself on the podium one of the nights, show some speed that he could kind of go up there and contend for the win. Another driver that was really impressive to me that nobody had on the radar was Christopher Drum, that number 24 car out of Minnesota. The young guy showed a lot of speed in his heat races and in the feature, picked up some solid feature results. Nobody really had that 24 car on the radar as far as being a contender, but he showed some promising speed and has really impressed me running against the Outlaw competition. So keep an eye out on that 24 car. And some hot topics heading out of this weekend in the sprint car world was rubbered up racetracks. I know a lot of people online and social media were complaining about this, the lack of excitement in the feature races because of tracks taking up rubber. The track workers do their best to try to give a surface for all the drivers to race on and be competitive in. And we've seen, not as many passes as we'd like or battles for the lead. But it kind of brought everyone together. I know Gravel still was dominant, and it was really hard to pass him. We saw Buddy Kofoid have a couple chances to, take the win from him. But overall, we can't complain too much because seen some good battles throughout the field. It's just hard when you're watching on Dirt Vision or Flow Racing to see all the other battles unless you're right there at the racetrack in person. So as far as the lead goes, we can take away from this weekend with the World of Outlaws is Gravel is just better than everybody else, and everybody's just trying to catch up to him. With High Limit, we've seen 4 different racers get a win so far this year, so that's pretty exciting, but Brad Sweet still seems to be the favorite, and everybody's trying to catch up to that number 49 Casey Kane racing car. So we'll see what happens, but just stay tuned on Flow Racing and Dirt Vision, whatever subscription you had, and sit back and just enjoy the racing that we have. And before moving on to talk about some dirt late models, I wanted to thank each and every one of you for tuning into today's episode and all those who support our YouTube channel on After the Scales and our social media. I really do appreciate you guys watching, liking, subscribing. It really does help at the end of the day to know that you guys enjoy what I'm doing, what we're doing on social media and with the drivers on our podcast. At the end of the day, I don't get paid to do any of this. I do it because I love racing and I love making content for you guys. And I want to let you guys know if you wanted to interact with what we've been doing on my Phenom Motorsports Instagram page, if you go over to our story, we did a late model madness bracket challenge based on dirtondirt.com's power rankings. Little fun thing to do to interact with the fans and see who really is the best dirt late model driver in the country right now. So make sure to check that out. And let's dive into this past weekend's dirt late model action. Starting off with the Lucas Oil Dirt Late Model Series, they would head to 2 racetracks that I personally love to watch. On Friday night, they would race at Atomic Speedway in Ohio, where Ricky Thornton Jr. would pick up the win. And on Saturday night, Devin Moran would pick up the win at Brownstown Speedway for the Icebreaker 50. 2 guys that have been really fast to start off the year in the Lucas Dirt Series. Ricky Thornton would pick up that win, but also get a second place finish behind Devin Moran. And a driver that was really impressive to me was Josh Rice. He had that second place run contending for the win with Ricky Thornton Jr. and a 5th place finish on Saturday night. He was solid both nights of racing, so keep an eye out on Josh Rice in that number 11 car. Another driver's performance that really stood out to me was Mike Marlar in that number 157 Skyline Motorsports car. They found that he was driving a new Infinity chassis by Wells car. He was originally in a Longhorn chassis, made the switch over to Infinity, and it seemed to be working. We've seen Ryan Gustin pretty fast in that Infinity chassis, and now we find Mike Marlar getting some good solid finishes after a rough start to the year for him. And then a driver that really needed to put some good runs together was Hudson O'Neal in that 71 SSI Motorsports car. With his new crew chief over this weekend, found some promising speed. We did see that incident happen at Brownstown Saturday night in that heat race where Hudson was leading. Brandon Sheppard got a good run in the outside. They made contact and sent Brandon Sheppard off the racetrack. Not a good look after Hudson O'Neal used to be in that Rocket 1 car, but we know that Hudson probably didn't mean it. I explained in his interview after that heat race win that he didn't see Bishop was there. Definitely it was a tough call, but at the end of the day, I think it was just a racing incident and he didn't mean it on purpose. So Hudson would find him starting up towards the front in the feature at Brownstown Saturday night, but unfortunately had a mechanical failure on the car resulting in a DNF. But overall, you have to kind of go away from this weekend with some positive notes with his new crew chief. So we'll see how that number 71 SSI Motorsports car does moving forward. So heading out of this past weekend in the Lucas Dirt Series point standings, both Devin Moran and Ricky Thornton Jr. are tied in the point standings with Jonathan Davenport minus 55 back in third. I expect those 3 to be very strong moving forward in the next couple of races and throughout the rest of this year. Last but not least, I wanted to talk about the World of Outlaws late models taking on Swainsboro Speedway in Georgia over the weekend. On night number 1, Bobby Pierce will get the victory, and on Saturday, Ryan Gustin picked up the win. Both drivers have been fast to start the year, but a driver that stood out to me that started on the pole on Saturday night was Drake Troutman. That Team 22 car had it figured out. He was fast all night long, got a 3rd and 4th place finish over the weekend. That Team 22 team was really fast, and I hope they carry that momentum the rest of the year. The driver that stood out that needed a good run was Ashton Winger. He has had some bad results to start the year, some bad luck, some wrecked equipment. He really needed a good run, and he had that on Saturday with a second place behind Ryan Gustin. Really good for that number 12 team to turn some things around and maybe carry that momentum into the next race. And then unfortunately, a hot topic leaving this weekend in the late model world was Tristan Chamberlain taking some heat on social media about what happened in that turn 1 incident at the start of the feature where he would get into Jimmy Owens, causing a major stack up with Kyle Brunson and a bunch of other drivers, ending a lot of those drivers' nights. Obviously, Tristan's a young racer. He's a great kid. I've talked to him many times at the racetrack, and we've even had him on this podcast on our YouTube channel. And he's just a young kid trying to make it in the world of Outlaws. He's going to make mistakes just like everybody else. Even veteran drivers make mistakes. And I think it was just a racing incident. He didn't mean it. But, it doesn't mean that it's an excuse to go on social media and trash, a young teenager just trying to live his dream. His team and his family work really hard. So it's a shame that, people want to go on social media and bash any drivers at all. And definitely not cool to say negative things at Tristan. He obviously didn't mean it, and we're just glad that he's okay. And hopefully he can learn from this incident and take that as motivation to prove those doubters wrong and continue to make his family, sponsors, and team proud. So Tristan, if you're watching this right now, keep it going, man. Good luck. Don't let these haters bring you down, and show what that 20TC team's all about. So thank you guys again for tuning in today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I really do appreciate all the support on our social media page and on our YouTube channel. I hope you guys tune in to the next episode, and I'll see you guys in the next one.